Welcome, welcome to everybody.
Still not getting the video.
No, that's super weird. Are you on your regular computer or device?
I know what it is. I need to undo the.
Oh, look at you. Was your iPad like closed? That's happened sometimes. Like, why isn't it working? Nice to see you, Mary Ellen. Welcome, Julie.
Hello.
Hi, Jill. Hi, Wendy.
Hi. I'm trying to.
Hey, Teresa. Hi, Eileen.
Oh.
Well, I see that it looks like Wendy's got a new Anker top on.
I just finished it. I haven't even tied all the strings in.
Great. I'm going to spotlight you so we can be sure that we get a good look on it.
Okay, it's not blocked or anything, but
Yeah.
What is that color?
it's tin line, the line that's is it cotton and acrylic? No, cotton and vissois, and
Okay.
it's the one that the pattern called for.
Is it gray? Oh,
No, it's a
okay.
purple.
It's purple. Okay.
A purpley purple. Yeah.
Looks great.
So I know I can't stay the whole meeting, but I was just going to show you I've been working on my hats too.
Wow.
Hold it right up close to the camera and kind of hold it still so it will focus.
Oh, goodness.
Yes.
Branded.
Yeah.
Color work.
I'm doing, I took a color work class, and so I have all these colors that I'm going to do
Nice.
a family of hats with.
A family of hats. I love it. For holiday gifts or
Yes, yeah. So I'm starting early. And then I have,
smart lady.
yes. Oh yeah, I've started the second one on that already. It's Berroco, so that one's going to be pretty. And then I'm working on 2 blankets that I'm trying to finish. Show you everything at once. This is it Fern Lake by Berroco?
Oh yes, Fern Lake.
And it's grays and pinks and a green color.
What is the stitch pattern again on the Fern Lake? Is it a slip
It's
stitch?
Slip, yeah, it's a slip, and then you alternate the colors.
Mm-hmm.
I had made 2 baby blankets, then I decided I was making one for our couch. So I was doing that.
Looks great. And so what is there a hat pattern for your hats?
Oh, the hats are where did it go? It's a book, Berroco Light Manus,
Okay.
and it has sweaters and
Okay.
so they're all
Nice.
different ones.
I love it.
Yeah. So, and then I'm trying to finish my lining of my Fiddlehead.
You are cruising, lady.
Well, you've inspired me. I'm telling you, I am going one after the other. I decided I would show them all to you now.
Yay, bravo.
So thanks to you guys. It's been wonderful. Wonderful. And I know I still haven't ordered the other because I keep thinking I'm going to get up there. So I may add to it and then have you ship it, but I don't want to take everyone's time here.
Okay, perfect. We can be in touch for sure. Well, thank you. Thanks for being our first.
Good job.
Shipper. That's
Thank you.
awesome.
Keep at it.
I love your cowl. Oh,
Oh, thank you.
Oh, let's go to Pat next. Let's spotlight Pat and look at this beautiful new shift.
I finished my shift.
love the colors.
Yay!
They're all, excuse me, they're all from my stash, leftovers from socks and other cowls. So it's going to be nice and warm this winter. I'm enjoying it right now in the air conditioning. So thank you.
It's very, very summery. It has a really nice
It
spring
is.
and summer vibe, even with the
Yeah.
darker color. I love that.
Yeah. and it'll go good this winter too. It goes great with jeans. Got my jeans.
I love it.
And so I finished that, and then I was all prepared. I was going to tell you. I remember I told you I was having trouble with button bands.
Mhm.
So I had made this sweater. It's really quite long. It's, you know, supposed to come down just about to your knees. It's got a lovely little pattern in the, you can't see because it's so dark. But anyway, the button band was awful. It was wavy. So I took the button band off and blocked the sweater. And while it was blocking and drying, I had to have something to do. So I started this pattern
Ooh.
that the shop highlighted with this Berroco Meraki.
Yes.
Meraki. So where'd it go? So I
Yeah.
ordered 7 skeins of this color, and I'm this far along.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Wow.
So it's kind of it looks gray on my screen right now, but it could also look beige, and it's got a little bit of pink. So it's really a fun color. I've made it a little bit large so I can layer it. I found with that other one, not the Anker, but the other one that I
The
made.
derecho.
Yes, it was a little larger and I could layer it, and I love the way it layers. So I could wear this, I think, in the winter time too, layered over my long sleeve tees. So anyway, I'm real pleased. I'm working my way down on the boring parts, doing a little bit of tailoring as you go, and then finish. So it won't be long and it'll be done.
Wow.
And,
Hooray.
And then I'll get back to this button band. So.
I love that. The Dorel looks beautiful, and we have somebody who's local in the shop named Kelly, who just was at the finish along in person last Sunday. She was just finishing up hers,
How did
and
it turn out?
turned out so well. I mean, I think it's a really good pattern for fit. And
Did she say anything about the pattern?
she didn't make any mention of any trouble that she had. I don't believe. She was sort of contemplating the length and, you know, looking carefully at where she wanted that hem to follow. But she came into the shop where we had that trunk show set up, and she went right for it and tried it on, and the sample size looked really good. Oh, I know what she did say. She didn't use as much yarn as the pattern called for.
I'm noticing that too. I'm in my 4th ball and I'm almost through with the body, and I've got 3 balls left. So I know it's not going to, you know, I won't need that much for sleeves. So it's kind of interesting. And I made an extra large size.
And she was like a full ball off. And so and she was like, have I done something wrong? Is this going to fit me really weird? My gauge was fine. And I was wondering, like, I don't know, is this something pattern designers sometimes do to try to get more yarn on? I don't know. But
well,
yeah.
If I probably will use the rest of this ball and move on to one more, which means I'll have 2 left over.
Wow. Wow.
So I'll find some interesting little project for 2.
Perfect. Well, thanks for sharing that. That's awesome.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for.
And you can disregard my email because I emailed you back to say, what was the yarn you used for your shift? And now I know. So you don't have to reply.
Just a little of this and a little of that.
That's great. Awesome. Does anybody else want to show and tell right now?
Come on, girls.
Iris.
Hi, Rosie. Rosie was. Yay!
It was great to meet you because everybody, I was up on the knit and sail run by Saw Creek Mill, and was on it. It was great. It was great. Traveling back and forth via the planes was not so much, but the time on the boat was great. Okay. Did you post the picture that you took of us in the shop? Because if you did, I don't know where to find it. Did you post it on IG or no?
Let me see, because I think I may have put it in a story. Let me look real quick. So you guys, what was so fun is I'm in the shop and all of a sudden here's a familiar face from our Zooms, and it was Rosie she was doing a little shopping before the sailing cruise that just went out, the knitting cruise. And it was super fun because she was there with Mary, who organized the event through the Sawmill Creek Fiber events, I think. And she came with a couple of other folks that were getting ready to set sail, and so it was really fun. You know what, Rosie? I must have put it in. I'm gonna have to look. Maybe I just put it in a reel, but I'm gonna post it again.
Okay.
It was
Wait.
really.
In a reel, yeah. I don't, since I don't check IG on the daily at all. Yeah, I definitely would have missed it. Okay.
Okay. Well, I will, if you want to message the shop, Rosie, with your Instagram handle, I could send you that one too.
Got it.
Okay.
You got it.
So
Thank
that
you.
was super fun. And Rosie, will you just hold up your beautiful, what you're wearing that you made on the cruise?
Oh, yes, yes. And I added the tassels. So Kristen picked a beautiful project. Let me see if I can make the light a little lighter. Hold on. Hold on, that's the wrong way.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So it is the windswept shawl, and I'll take it off. I added tassels, which helps secure the ends. I will say the wool, which is by On the Round, is incredibly squishy, delicious to hold. Beautiful little pattern of simply alternating the garter with stockinette, and just a lovely piece to work with, both for the yarn, the hand feel, and the pattern was meditative, just enough switching up to keep it interesting, but nothing that you felt that you had to be overly, concerned with. And the picot edge just absolutely finishes it. So I know Catherine had chosen it, the pattern for the sailing trip. I know the colorway is specific for these events with Mary, with Sawmill Creek Fiber events, but that pattern must be on Ravelry, I'm guessing, right, Iris? Right. Highly recommend. I'm going to do another shawl with in the same pattern, but I'm going to use one of the yarns that I absolutely love, Seven Sisters, that I bought plenty of between visiting the store and then the pop-up shop. Yeah, I've got quite a few skeins added to my lifetime stash. So, but I'm going to do one of them with the Seven Sisters, another one of this with the Seven Sisters. So it was really fun to knit with. I want to thank Catherine again for doing that. Just Kristen. I want to thank Kristen because it was well chosen. Well chosen. So.
Well, that I actually had somebody, because there's a beautiful picture of Rosie wearing it where you can really zoom in and get a look at that yarn that she's talking about. And that's posted to our Instagram, and you can see it. I think, were you the first to finish the project?
No, I was actually third. So 3 of us finished it during the cruise. It was a 4-day cruise, and there's another one happening in September. And this is my second time on it, so I highly suggest. But in any case, the Linda was the first one to finish. Then her sister, daughter-in-law, and I, Melissa, were like, "Come on, Rosie, we can do it." And I stayed up until 12:30, the last full night of the cruise. And it was funny. Kristen came out, out of her bunk, so to speak, and she was just still at it. And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm determined to finish it." She goes, "We've all done that. You're just doing it on a boat." So it was really cute. Yep, we all stayed up late to finish a project. And yes, I was just doing it on a boat. So yeah, lots of fun. So there were 3 of us who finished it that day. I think the only other reason why, and it's not because it's a difficult pattern, as I said, it's sweet and short and easy enough to do, but everybody brings their own other whips, we have so many other projects that everyone was knitting their sweaters or this or that. And just, everyone was knitting, I will say, everybody was knitting this, just not everybody finished, because it was a really great pattern to follow, so.
Well, that is
Totally.
awesome to hear. So that colorway, and this is really neat. I don't know if Kristen talked to the group about this, but when she reached out to Rachel from On the Round for this custom colorway for the sales, she sent Rachel a photograph of one of our sunset cruises. So the colorway is actually called Sunset Cruise. You can't find it. It was special. But she took those colors from the photograph and made it so referential in the yarn. It was truly artistic. There is a yarn that's similar in, it's a little bit similar that we have in the plush single, which is called Convergence. And that has a little bit of a similar feeling if you look at the picture of Rosie in it and you like that colorway. But the pattern is by Alice Smith of Birch Tree Knits, and she is also the designer of the Love is Love wrap, which I am working really hard to finish before Pride Month is over in just a couple of short days, because it was like my June project. What are the colors
in that shawl? Okay, so someone just asked what the colors are, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a Pat who asked that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was something I was going to piggyback on your comment, Iris. The colorways actually did vary a bit. They all have, and as Iris said on the, so Kristen posted the picture of us finished with it, or at least of me, on the Cashmere Goat IG site, right?
Yep.
Okay, so you can see that, and I think she might have also posted the 3 of us who finished. So the reason I mentioned that is because the colorways did vary a fair amount. They all had some level of beautiful, like a gray blue, a lighter gray blue, some peaks of yellow, like a brownie yellow. No, I should say more of like a orangey yellow with some pops of maybe pink or orange, a tiny, tiny speckle. The reason why they all had that, but some had varying amounts. Some had more blue, some had more yellow. So basically, for the next cruise, I know that it's going to be offered, well, do you want this colorway if you're a little more towards the bright yellows or a little more towards the murky blues, you know, so there was a bit of variation, and it wasn't like, you know, we just got the beautiful little bag of yarn with the other notions that were in the things that we got when we boarded, and you know, we as we were knitting, it was kind of a surprise to say, okay, what's our colorway going to be? So mine ended up being, I would say, a lot of yellow. No, it wasn't all the same color. There was a fair amount of variation. So but they all have the colors, and Kristen did show the picture, which was gorgeous, from the Sunset Cruise. That was the inspiration. So they all have those colors, whether it's more of the blue, more of the yellow. That was basically what came up. I will say, from what I saw that was finished, and as people were knitting, I think mine has the most yellow in it. Most people had more towards the blue. So I don't know if that was intentional, what happened, but it was a bit of that was a bit of a mystery as we all were knitting. So it added to the element, like, hey, what's it going to come out like? Because we all had the same pattern, but the colorways were a little bit different.
Super cool.
Pretty common with Rachel's yarns. Like I've knit a bunch of things in the Harvest colorway from her. And there's a huge difference in how much like purple is added to that and brown is added to that on the base, like kind of a gold.
Yeah, for sure. Teresa I was gonna ask Teresa, would you like to hop on and share some of your own progress while we got you?
Sure.
I am getting so close to finishing the sweater.
Yay!
Where's the top? Ah, there we go. I finished the first sleeve that I was working on last time, and I am a good bit of the way through the second one, so I'm expecting to finish in the next couple of days. And then I
Amazing.
can
Remind
finally
me
start
of
with something else.
the pattern, Teresa.
It is called Orbit by
Orbit.
Unwind Knitwear.
Okay, yeah.
And didn't you say that's your first colorway that you did?
It's my first colorwork project,
That's
yeah.
Amazing.
Like first stranded colorwork, yeah.
Wow, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Super stunning work. And how are you feeling about color work? You like it?
I probably wouldn't pick up as big a project as this in colorwork anytime soon. It's not as easy on the hands, I found. But in little bursts, I think I would enjoy it.
You could get onto some hats like Wendy's got.
Yeah, that's why I started with that.
More like that. I have a habit of just kind of going big sometimes when maybe I shouldn't.
And have you made any progress on your let's see, your blocking goals for the summer?
No, not at all. I
Yeah.
feel like I've not really been home because there's been construction. I've been at my parents' house. So I don't have access to all of the stuff that I need to block. But I'm hoping all of that will be over soon. And we're spending some time there this weekend, so I'm hoping to be able to make some progress.
Awesome. Well, that is great to hear. Congrats. Well, send me a photo of you in your finished sweater when it's finished.
Will do.
Who else would like to share?
I finished my sweater,
Oh,
Yay!
but it's all I had to do was the button band, so it's but it was in the bag for 2 years.
Hey, that is progress. You got it out of the bag. That's awesome.
Okay, so it's finished.
ah,
Nice. Oh, I love it.
the color.
Yeah, it's a pretty color. It's really warm. Really warm.
Gorgeous.
Kudos to you.
And so what's next for you? Yeah, tell us what's next.
Well, I'm working on my second Anker, this one.
Oh,
I'm getting there. So
love that.
and I have some charity hats that I'm working on.
Nice.
That's just a plain pattern. And that's pretty much it. I was glad to have that done.
And you'll definitely be glad to have it when it's wintertime again, right?
Yes. Yeah. But it actually fits, it fit fine, and the yarn is superwash, and that's going to stretch anyway. So it fits fine. I don't know. I just got like disgusted with it.
Did you block it before you put the button band on? Questions?
I did.
And
Not the
so-
first time, but then I blocked it. I made it and it had a button band on it. Then I blocked it and the button band did not look right. So I took it all off. So it was blocked when I did it the second time, which probably made a difference. I didn't block it again since I finished this. It looks fine. I don't think it needs it.
Can you hold it up again so I can see?
Sure.
Okay, so the band is about 1 inch, maybe?
Yes, it's not really big.
The one that I have is about a 2-inch button band I don't think it calls for buttons. I'm not sure. I think it's just because it's long, more like a wrap, but it doesn't have a belt. It just kind of hangs open, but it's got a 2-inch and it was just they didn't give any instruction other than cast on or add on 150 stitches, you know, so then you got to figure out the math on how to spread it.
Mhm.
And I don't want to do that. There's a better formula for figuring out how many rows you have and how much you should pick up. And that's the part I need to learn.
Well, this pattern just said pick up 3 stitches for every 4 rows.
Yeah, I wish this one said that, which is probably what it's going to turn out to be.
Yeah, I think that's kind of standard.
Because this
And-
yarn's squishy, like you say, your yarn is squishy, and I'm concerned that it's going to stretch.
Are you doing a ribbed? Is it ribbed or is it gartered like this?
It's garter,
Okay.
and it's, of course, you can't see, and I don't have button bands anymore. This has been in a bag for, you know, how it is, a couple, 3 years, and so I think it's a worsted weight, but it's probably one of those washables.
That's what this is.
Really squishy,
Yeah.
and it's dark, so you really can't see.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, I'm encouraged. I will give it
Yeah.
a stab.
I would try the 3
Three to
3 stitches.
3 to 4.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Well, congrats, Mary Ellen. I'd love to have
Yes.
a picture of you in that sweater that you soldiered through and persevered with. The awesome
Okay.
job.
I will send you that.
Who else would like to share and catch us up on what they've been up to? Well, I'll just share that you saw this, which is so close to being finished. Let's see, which way do I hold it? So it's just symmetrical. Oops, I'll put it this way. And again, this is Alice from Birch Tree Knits, who designed the windswept boomerang. And I'm using one of the Roy G. Biv mini skein sets from On the Round in the plush single, which is so fun, and all of these fun little stitch patterns. So I'm going gangbusters with that. But I was so inspired last weekend by two of we had these 2 fabulous knitters, well, one knitter, one crocheter, show up at the shop for the finish along, and I believe, although I did not check this, but I had the sense that it was maybe a mother-in-law, daughter-in-law pair, and they were showing some really fabulous work. And the daughter-in-law, I believe, she learned how to crochet, I think, in the pandemic, and took like one of those classes through online where you purchase the class, you purchase the yarn, and you incrementally make something. And I hadn't really heard about this, but she showed this unbelievable masterpiece of a crocheted blanket. So that she brought it in, and she's also brought in other things too, but this is like her first one, and it was mind-blowing. And if I can figure out the technology, maybe I'll be able to airdrop the picture to my computer before we're over here, because I'd love to show it to you. But the person I think might have been the mother-in-law was there wearing a very cool West Knits shawl that she'd made, the Aurora. So that was impressive. And she purchased like one of the beautiful yarn kits. So it was like, that was gorgeous. And she was making another shawl, not West Knits, but I'm gonna forget her name, but she's a very much like she and Stephen West have collaborated a lot. And she had purchased one of the surprise colorway packs that when they do one of their collabs or knit along, you can say, well, give me the surprise one, send me the surprise. And the surprise colorway was just incredible. It was it's for the new, so I think they're releasing like a pattern. This is the spring pattern, and there's going to be like a summer or something like that. So it was like hot pink and yellow and just so whimsical and fun. And she was talking about the surprise sock along that Stephen West does, which I've never done a mystery knit along. I've never done anything with Stephen West, although I love his designs and really appreciate his brioche work. So on a whim, I signed up for the surprise sock along. So I sort of feel like I'm cheating on my finish along goals a little bit by starting. But that's how it goes.
Wing it too, yeah.
So I'm gonna keep going with my finish along goals, but I might also be starting a surprise sock along next week. So I'll get to report in on how that's going. And I have because I got myself back into that dark navy sweater with the deep like fisherman's rib. So I've definitely put in some time with that. So I am making some progress on that too. But yeah, okay. So somebody want to share, and then I'll see if I can like monkey around with my phone and the computer and see if I can get those finished objects to share with you before we end.
I'll share.
Oh, great. Thanks, Jill.
Okay, thank you, first of all, for starting this finish along, because I really needed to finish this and I left it for a long time. It's almost finished. It's the sweater pattern from hell. It is unbelievable, the construction and the amount of hand finishing in this thing. I've never had a needle and threaded with yarn in my hand for so many hours in my life, but it's almost done. It has, let's see, this is the front end. Notice it has a lining and there are steeks all over the place, and every one of these has a lining, and every steek, like even the sleeves, notice I've knitted a band and put in a lining, and there is just so much finished work, but it's finished, except I'm right now working on the last piece, which is this, which is going to be a band which goes up the front and over the neck and down the other side, and that finishes this forever. And here's the most amazing part of the whole thing: it fits.
Oh,
I was so pleased. I was scared to try it on because I hadn't really done careful measurements, but it fits perfectly. And so I guess I'll wear. The pattern was really hard to follow. It was written in Danish and translated, for one thing, but leaving that out, there were whole pieces missing. I knitted, this band was hanging down from the front, and it had part of the collar attached on the top and the bottom, and I ended up steeking it horizontally and picking up stitches and knitting an edge because it was in the wrong place. And the sleeves, the repeats for the color work on the sleeves were not working because there were half patterns here or there and going around. And also the sleeves, if I knitted according to the pattern, I would have had it down to my knees for sleeves. But it's done. It really is done. And you know, she's so clever with these color work designs. What you do is you get this kit of just every color of blues and greens and every color of the hot color, and make your own little gradient balls. And you randomize the yarn and you make them up before you start knitting, and it really works well. But if anybody wants to do one of her designs, for goodness sakes, consider doing a shawl. Don't do one of her jackets, because the construction of her jackets are just insane. They really are. But
remind us of the designer's name again, Jill.
Her name is Crystal Seafarth, and she lives on an island off the coast of Denmark, and actually sponsors a fiber festival, which sounds like it'd be pretty neat. I think I looked online to see what people had done, and more than half the people who bought her kits, and not that many people bought her kits, gave up. And I think now she's just selling completed jackets and has some knitters making them. I don't think she's selling kits for these anymore, but maybe she is. I haven't been able to quite devote time to that. But
what was the pattern name, just so I can make a note of it?
Caledonia.
Okay.
Caledonia summer jacket.
Okay.
And that's it. I did learn something though. I never thought of doing this before, but this is so cool. I have to share it, which is, of course, she wrote the pattern in Danish. That is her first language. And I forgot that Google Translate was so good. I copied with my mouse whole paragraph, popped them into Google Translate, and it immediately translated a very acceptable translation. And I thought, boy, when I sometimes knit French patterns and I really work hard to translate the French, this is so much easier. I couldn't believe it. You could basically do whole chunks of your pattern at a time. So if you want to do a European pattern, it's not a bad trick. Anyway, that's what I'm up to. I'm almost there. I think then I have to block. And I did block the sleeves before I put them in because they're set in here all the way into almost to the front.
Wow.
And so I blocked them and was delighted with how the yarn bloomed. It just was so interesting to see this. It's a lot like Shetland yarn, but it really made a difference. So I can't wait to wet block the whole thing. And then the hard part is be patient until it dries. I don't know what the weather's like where you all are, but here in this part of New England, it is very damp. And so things don't dry very quickly. Anyway, and in between, I've kind of picked up a few other projects. I too am knitting charity hats.
Jill, there was a question from Pat that was, is it heavy? Does it feel heavy, the jacket?
No, everybody who's looked at it online, but not in person, have said the same thing. And the answer is no. I was worried about this yarn because you know how Shetland yarn is thin. This was even thinner.
Oh wow.
Her older kits, some of my friends have, and the yarn was heavier. It was really fingering weight. This is not really quite fingering weight, and I was really worried about it. But you know what? It blooms nicely, and if you think about it, a fingering weight yarn, especially a light one, when you do color work, you end up with two layers really, and so it's plenty thick enough, but it's not at all heavy. What I'm wearing right now weighs a ton. It really does. I had this purple. I had been spinning my brains out for months and had an awful lot of this around. And so I decided I needed to do something with it. And finally decided to make, Andrea Mowry has a Trinigan sweater, and that's what this is. And it's a slip stitch. And what I did was I used my hand spun yarn as a background and Noro, one of their Kurion yarns, of the blue one, as the in between, and it really came out well, but it is quite heavy.
You inspired me when you wore that earlier at one of our earlier meetups for a different along we were doing. So I definitely want to make that. I was gifted some really beautiful Gotland wool in a worsted. So it's not the softest, but it is so gorgeous. I mean, like, I immediately thought of the Trinigan because it just has that feeling of it would just be a lovely outer layer.
Well, it's great. It's really nice to wear. What she did with this seam is really super. And her patterns are excellent. They're so easy to follow, and they're all kind of jazzy. She's certainly very stylish, and I really enjoyed knitting it and would knit anything she designs again because her patterns are so easy to follow. And I always thought she was really tall. Has anybody ever met her in person? I don't think she's all that tall. She's just she looks like a model, you know?
She does.
And anyway, I was happy to find this. I knitted a whole number, like about 6 of the Gloam sweaters, and was going to make one of those, but I wanted to just do something different, and so this is it.
The purple is so pretty. Oh, well, thank you. And I feel like you might get the award for the marathon. I mean, I feel like what you've just completed is sort of a marathon run over a very long, maybe one of those ultra marathons where these people are running like 100 miles and they're going up and down some really steep mountains. I feel like that's what you've just embarked upon.
I appreciate you thinking up the idea of a finish along. That for me was just exactly what I needed to get the inspiration to work on this thing. But I honestly didn't know even when was this, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago that you started this? I honestly didn't know what I was in for with all of the hand sewing. Holy cow. And it's all, the whole thing is on small needles so that your hand sewing is very, very fine.
Amazing.
I want something easy for my next project.
Can't wait to see what that is. What's easy for Jill might not be easy for the rest of us, but I love watching what you create, Jill. Thank you for sharing. Let's see, who haven't we heard from? How about Eileen? You want to share?
It's still the same sweater. I'm on the second sleeve at least.
Ooh,
I finished the first sleeve. I put the binding and it has
Nice.
ooh, nice.
and I just starting the second sleeve. So maybe by the next time.
Beautiful. Love
It's
that
heavy
one.
now.
Yep. But that's pretty. What's the yarn?
It's an Italian yarn from Italy.
Yeah, nice.
I picked up, there was a local thrift shop that had a donation from somebody that had these beautiful yarns. They had so much of it. And they had bagged it up and sold for like $25 for a sweater's worth. And it was, I had to have it,
Perfect. Well, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. And so after this project, what's next on your agenda?
I don't have any. Actually, my socks, I never like to finish because they're my carry around project. But I get down by the toe and I have to finish them. I don't know. I'll have to think.
Well, you can report back next time we meet. You'll have some time.
I have to consult my granddaughter who's 17 and usually has an idea for me that she wants.
I love it. That's awesome. And let's see. I think we haven't heard from Julie.
No, I'm still working on the Anker child sweater that I was working on last week.
Yeah. Oh, I
And
love it.
Oh, that is pretty.
thank you. It's about a size 4-5, and I'm hoping to finish it by the time that the little girl across the street turns 4. She's a cute little thing. And I haven't worked on it since our last meeting because I made the mistake of joining a sweater group, and I think it's with the same Berroco yarn that somebody else is working with on a top-down sweater.
The
Except I'm
Meraki?
doing a bottom-up sweater with it, and it's eating way more yarn than it called for. So I live on the West Coast. I've already been back to the shop and bought more yarn once, and I'm wondering, because I think I want it longer, if I'll be back there yet again.
Mm.
So I have lots and lots of stripes in blue going around in my hands a lot of the time in the evenings right now.
Got it. Wow. Well, that looks like it's going to be super beautiful once you finish it.
I hope so. And I hope I get to see little Olivia scampering around in it.
Be sure to get a picture of her.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. That gets easier with a phone in my hand.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's great. How about Bev? How are you doing, Bev?
Well, I need everybody's name because I'm going to include you in the novel I write about this. Although truth is stranger than fiction. So I'm restarting my shift for about the 82nd time, and that's not much of an exaggeration. And now I have, where am I here? Threads coming out of strange places. I don't know how they got there.
Ooh.
So, and first I thought, okay, the needles are too small, but the next size up I have is a 10. That's not going to work. And, so I got this nice magnifying light here so that I could maybe see it better. And oh, it's a struggle, but you know, the best things in life are. So
Keep plugging.
You
yeah,
got this.
yeah, I will. I think I need, you know, I'm not totally a self-taught knitter. I did take one class, and it probably would have worked better if either I understood German better or the lady spoke English. But I was stationed in Germany at the time. And so it was 100 years ago because it was West Germany at the time. And, you know, I never learned how to correct mistakes, which I think is key to knitting.
Yes.
Or at least it is for me.
Yeah.
So that's what I think I need to do, because this is you know, it's not helpful to your confidence to take it out and redo it 82 times, not much of an
Right.
exaggeration. So
Yeah.
but
Well, also I think with that pattern though too, you know, there's the issue of where you're doing the slip stitches forward and back, you're moving your yarn forward to slip those last 3 stitches or whatever it is. So it's like every pattern and every new stitch that we're learning, we're building a different visual vocabulary for what is happening in our knitting. And if you're like to develop those skills of reading, it's like learning to read words. You know, there's you know, you move to a different text and all of a sudden your reading skills are challenged in a different way because maybe it's more technical or maybe it's about a topic, and so you're using those different skills that you've built for just basic literacy in reading to then apply those to a different text, but you can like leverage those skills. And I think it's a lot the same with knitting, you know, when you have that opportunity to really understand what's happening in front of you and the confidence to know what's going on enough so that you could fix it, right? That then that's a transferable skill to your future, whether it's a knitting pattern that's different, whether it's a knitting stitch that you're trying. Rosie, I bet you're going to weigh in because I think you have some experience in this area.
Yeah, I love that you said that, Iris, because I think earlier we had the guy brought it up, perhaps piggybacking someone else's comment last week, or it might have been with the shift when we did that. The connections between what you learn in school as far as math and knitting, the problem solving, but it's exactly what you just said for using those reading skills. Like, you know, when I teach my 4th and 5th graders, and by the way, yesterday was the last day of school. I'm going to go off a little bit of a tangent and then come back. It was a bit of a challenging year this year, but as I like to do, the day after school ends, I invite kids to come out and just have fun. And we go to the park, we have pizza. So a number of kids showed up today, and I do another one at the end of the school year, at the end of the summer. But that all being said, it's exactly as I tell my students, you build a schema. And I said to them, it's as if, listen, I'm a good reader, but if I read a medical journal that has lots of language and lots of words that I don't know, I really have to, like, it's like I'm going back to rely on the foundational skills. So then I really have to think about pulling those up to the forefront, which I normally wouldn't do when I'm reading, like, you know, summer beach read or something that's within my usual range of reading. It's exactly that. So it's relying on what you know and how then you make that bridge to what you don't know. And it absolutely 100% at years. I could not agree more with you on that. So it doesn't matter if you're a 9-year-old learning to read more difficult text, or whatever age, as a knitter, as a creative, trying to get to the next step of a project or a pattern, what have you. So absolutely. So keep plugging away. But that being said, sometimes going to a more expert in the field, whether it's a knitting design or something, it could really be beneficial to help, as we say in teaching, the zone of proximal development, so that help you make that leap into the next level of development. Enough said.
thank you.
And I hope that maybe the next time you come on down to Camden, maybe you'll come in, and we could take a look, and we could start looking at, we could sit there and we could pick apart some knitting and stitching. That's what I was doing with my brioche knitters last weekend. We had our first class, and we really focused on stitch anatomy, and I had made a little tiny swatch for each person so they could like feel free to take a needle out and take some stitches out. And I had them picking stitches back up right away, because that was I think that's one of the hardest things that folks are challenged by with brioche is, I mean, I certainly was. It was like I'd make a mistake 4 inches into a hat and be like, well, back to the beginning, because I don't know what's really happening here. And so I just thought the only thing I know how to do is to get back. So, but yeah, it does make a huge difference when, yeah. So hopefully we can get a little one-on-one time in the shop, or you can come down maybe later this summer or something. Okay, so let's see. I think we've all shared. I'm going to see if I can share this screen and show you these amazing show and tells I was talking about. Can you see that?
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So it is amazing. And these flowers, what? She crocheted this. It's like the first thing she crocheted through this class, if you can believe it. So I think I have another picture with a close-up, so you can see that these stitches have, these motifs have dimensionality. They're slightly three-dimensional and so textured. It was just mind-blowing to me. Yeah.
Okay.
And then here's the Stephen West shawl. And I unfortunately did not take a picture of the one she was currently knitting, which was that bright pink yellow. But oh my word, these stitches and stitch patterns, and I've got a little closer up so you can see, but just the way that those colors just move together.
Lovely.
It was incredible. And then I just love that she was looking at her phone, and I was like, oh, your hand just looks so great with your shawl. And it was, you know, I mean, we were talking about how like sometimes you want the shawl that will really wrap around your body. You know, that's not going to be this one. This is going to be more of like a smaller wrap around my neck. But I loved seeing, you know, just that wingspan was so pretty in this one. Oops, there it is. Yeah.
Mm.
So that was pretty fun.
Mm.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah. So the inspiration's everywhere, isn't it? That's the thing. Even in the finish line, we can't help but like see stuff from each other. Carry that into our own creative process.
I won't be
show
showing
you
that
one
one to
thing
you
real
next
quick.
week.
No, okay. All right. You say so. The one thing with this rainbow one that I'm doing right now is, gosh, there's a lot of ends to sew in, and I've tried to be really good about sewing them in as I go, because wow. But then I get mad at myself sometimes when I forget to carry my white up along the side, and then I'm like, okay, so I have to just break that yarn. Sometimes I can pick it up and like open a stitch and kind of tuck it in there, but oh well. So our main yarn cruise bags arrived in the shop yesterday, and so we'll be able to give those out to people starting on Saturday. And I think they're getting mailed out to the people that pre-ordered them tomorrow. But it's a cute bag. You know how I feel about bags, never enough.
You like those new bags?
I love my new bag so much. The Delicue, it's so adorable. And I mean, it looks so cute, and it's really super functional too. It's just a nice size in there. Got room for multiple projects, everything. Yeah, so I'm happy with that. We're getting some more in the yellow color right here. What else can I tell you? Well, let's see, I'll probably write an email about this soon, but we just got a really cool new yarn in. If you remember, there was an email a little bit ago where we were talking about the temperature blankets, and I had some pictures of the one Kristen was working on using the Chow yarn by Jody Long. And there's a new, it's called Chow Carnival. and it is color blending. I mean, like some just very, very bright ones and some more muted, and it has that, it's a washable superwash yarn. It's super soft. It'll be great for baby things, for people that want some fun colors, and they design them to coordinate with their solids, which is always such a smart move when you're going for wild colors. So I think that yarn is definitely going to be inspiring to some folks that want to knit some really fun. But I mean, I'm saying fun because I'm thinking of this one particular one that really reminds me of like Sesame Street crayon box, but there's also some more muted options, but that's a very bright, variegated yeah, yarn, and just feels really nice. So you'll see that in an email. Also the Fiberside Summer Crawl, that is, you can still get on board for that. I just bought my pass today because I don't know about you, but I really love to, like, you know, have my little coffee in the morning and watch some knitting, somebody doing some knitting podcast, or listen to something while I'm having coffee and knitting. So I'm excited because I think it's going to be a really fun way to just get a read on so many different independent yarn shops from around North America.
So do I understand you then that we don't necessarily need to be there at the assigned time? We can go back and watch this while we're having our morning coffee?
Exactly, because for me, I'm not, except for the one where we're going to be hosting at the Cashmere Goat, and I think we're actually going to have to close the shop a little early so we can get our setup. But I work Sundays, so it'll be something that I can look forward to watching at a future time. I think you either get a link to a private YouTube channel or something like that where the video is posted, the recording is posted, and then after a certain amount of time, they have it. They just have it on their public page too. But so that'll be really fun.
That's great.
So we're thinking about what we want to highlight, because only 15 minutes. That's a lot of, we could, we could go on for a while. But anyway, so I'm excited about that. And
Iris, anything with Seven Sisters, anything with Seven Sisters. I don't know how many other yarn stores will be that she sells too, but oh my goodness, just wow. So just one suggestion.
I think that is definitely from like sort of always. I think Kristen, I don't know if last year was the first year, and I think the focus on local dyers was definitely there in last year, and highlighting some of those special yarns that are made by folks right here in Maine is definitely going to be on the docket. So we just got to pick which ones we're going to like hold up to the screen to inspire people.
I have one last thing to share.
Yeah.
I made this blanket. It's knit. It's wonderful wool.
Oh.
I started it 15 years ago. Put it in a bag and said, I'll get back to it. So before we did our thing, I managed to get it finished. And I use it in my living room now for waiting for winter. So I love blankets. Before I took knitting back up, I crocheted while I was raising kids, because crochet is forgivable. You can just pull one string and start over and find your mistake. So I made a lot of afghans over the years, and this one's crochet. So I got my crochet hook out and I finished it fairly recently, within the last couple of months, and I thought I would just share that.
Wonderful. 15 years in a closet, and now you get to cuddle under it.
And there's enough yarn left, I can make something else. Maybe I'll make another what did I make? This.
Yep, a shift.
Shift.
And Bev was wondering, was there a pattern that you used?
Yes, and I will have it for you next time. It was one of the major wool manufacturers, and it was a free pattern, and took about 4 or 5 different things of yarn, blends of yarn. But it was a free pattern. I'll get it for you.
Nice.
And have it next time. It was easy. It's one of those things you can put down for 15 years and go back to.
I love it.
Oh,
Oh, that's great. Congratulations on finishing that.
thank you.
Iris,
Rosie,
how do
did
you get
yeah. Oh,
connected to the sock thing from Stephen West that you talked
Okay.
about, the pretty colors?
yeah. I do. If I post that link in the video description when I post our recording, will you see it there, Eileen?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I'll put it down in my notes.
That sounds interesting.
I know, and of course, you know, it's going to be something pretty fabulous with him, and I'm kind of excited that it's socks. I think I'm going to try to do 2 at a time. We'll see if I can hold to that. I don't know.
I learned how. I took a class and learned how, and thought, okay, I know how to do it. I don't have to.
Yeah,
I like the single one to take it around with me.
Yeah, I like the single too. So when I say 2 at a time, I might use 2 needles like separately, like just like knit one on one needle and one on, you know, yeah. But I'm excited because I think it'll be just a fun way to keep my interest and maybe learn some new skills. And I've got some yarn in my stash from magpie fibers that I've been saving forever. So I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'll put it in the description. Rosie, you're holding one of our favorite books.
Yes, I think this came up in last week's discussion, and I was trying to find where I had it, and it's really, really great for and I was like, oh, I reached for it, and because one of our Zoom members said about, you know, mistakes and whatnot, and so in lieu of, although I highly recommend, I agree with you, Iris, go to a shop, get over there and get some hands-on with somebody, one-on-one particularly, is so amazing and so worth it. But in the times you can't go, this is a great book for, and Patty Lyons knows her stuff. If you've ever taken a class with Patty, doesn't joke around. She's serious, but she really knows her stuff. So highly recommend this one. Do you have it in the store, Chris? Iris, Chris, order this?
So we I think we might have only 1 copy left right now, and Kristen knows that we're reordering, but I think we might not be able to. Anyways, maybe they're putting into a second printing or something, but we will definitely continue to stock it. And I will say, Bev, that the thing about it that's so great is she's all about the why. She's all about the why, because if you understand the why, then you know what's going on. And I think we mentioned her last week too, Pat, because she's the whole thing in there about the button band issues that we all face.
So
yeah, I watched her.
Saving for better knitting, definitely. So highly recommend, ladies. Highly recommend.
Thank you.
Well, we are already at 6:03 here. Sorry, was somebody talking?
Yeah, I was just saying that the illustrations on that are really good, way better than I've seen in a lot of things. They were really helpful.
And I watched her on her YouTube video on doing the button band. So I'll go back and listen to her again. She made a lot of sense.
She made a lot of sense. And with those illustrations, to that point too, Teresa, I loved how she has this particular illustration of your stitch sitting on a needle, because they always talk about like the front leg of the stitch is over the front, versus the right leg versus the left leg being over the needle, and that and the illustration was like a cowboy on a horse. And so he was sort of shaped like a stitch, and you could see like when his left leg was over the front of the needle, he was facing the back of the horse or something like that. And the visual now sticks in my head. Like, that's a good illustration.
There was a couple of guys that were teaching continental stitch. And because I'm a English knitter, I thought I would check out the continental stitch method, and they taught in the beginning of their show, their explanation, how the anatomy of the stitch and why it needs to be one way versus the other way. And I have never forgotten it, and is one of the best things that I ever learned. So, and I can't remember the name, but it was a couple of guys.
Rosie, hold up one of those illustrations again. I'm going to spotlight you.
I absolutely agree. So, for example, I'm going to go back to one where it's a bunch of, how do you notice, like, when I drop the stitch, etc. Just again to see like the portion. It's a well done overall book. And so that's like the humorous portion. And then on the next page is how it looks sitting on, so you can see the part you can see, is the green, and how it actually looks on when it's on the needles. Just really, just overall, just really well done.
Show the front
Okay.
again, please.
Sure,
Knitting bag of tricks. Thank you.
you're welcome. By Patty Lyons.
Awesome. Well, here we are at 6:05, and we've passed another awesome hour with each other here. And thank you all for bringing your show and tell and
You
filling
guys are
us in
great.
on what you're up to. Yeah, you guys are great. Definitely couldn't agree more. So our next one is the 12th of July. So we'll have a little bit of time to get some more progress done on what we're working on. And so we might have a lot more finished objects, or maybe not. We'll just, take it one stitch at a time, as we say.
Yeah. Good luck, everybody. Keep at it.
Ciao, good luck.
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you.
See you
Have fun.
later.
Good night,
night.
everybody.